Hello everybody, it's Robbie here, and I'm coming to you again with another Evan Moor product. It is one of the books from their Sharpeners series. It's for grammar and punctuation for grade 4, connecting school and home. And so if you've seen any of my other Evan Moor videos, you'll know that I am trying to complete at least one review for each of the Sharpeners. The Sharpeners books are also a little different in that they are colorful. They're all done in color instead of in black and white. And a lot of the Evan Moor books can be used in a classroom setting, and I suppose this one could be too, but it seems a little more homeschool friendly in the way it's set up. Also, they're inexpensive. They're only $10. So truly, for $10 to have a grammar program is really kind of unheard of. I mean, there may be others, but I just don't know of them. So anyway, this one, let's open it up and kind of walk through what it is or what's in it. Of course, it's covering parts of speech, real word practice, and sentence structure. And I honestly think that you could stretch this out to be a full year's worth of grammar. And here's why. Okay, so there are 16 different units in this particular book. And normally these are considered supplemental materials. They're usually summer, they call them skill sharpeners because they're perfect for summer practice and or preventing the summer slide, you know, as you may have heard of. But this one is pretty meaty and it's got quite a bit of material in it. So within these 16 units, there are 8 pages per unit. So if you wanted this to be like a summer course, you'd have to probably do close to 3 pages a day. 2 pages a day would give you 16 weeks worth of material. So if you're doing this as a supplemental or wanting to make this your grammar course for the school year, you could drag this out by just doing 1 page a day or doing maybe a couple of pages, you know, a few times a week or a couple times a week or whatever in order to make this a full grammar course. If you don't plan on doing grammar every single day, then this is probably going to be a good option for you. So the first section has a theme of flight, and they're all color-coded. All the different sections are color-coded, so you know when a section stops, when it begins, another one begins. So, and they're all perforated. So if you wanted to tear these out and just do them by unit based on need, you can definitely do it that way as well. So this one is on flight. You get a story, and then they introduce you to the grammar rules. Over here, it tells you what this particular unit is going to be covering. It's going to be covering singular nouns, which name a person, place, or thing, and plural nouns name more than one. And then it's going to give you some practice with ending punctuation. So the unit will always begin with that, and then each page also describes the skill that's covered on its individual page. So, like I said, each unit has 8 pages, so I'm just going to kind of go through here. You can tell by the header, you know, what is going to be covered in that particular exercise. And then every single unit will end with a review, which will give some practice on all of the concepts that were covered in that unit. So now we're moving into a new unit. Its theme is in the garden. And the concepts covered here are going to be consecutive adjectives that describe a single noun. Okay, if I can read. Consecutive adjectives that describe a single noun have a correct order in a sentence, and a comma is used between coordinate adjectives. So those are the concepts that are going to be covered in this unit. So you've got an example here for each of the concepts that are going to be covered. And then, of course, you've got exercises to go with it. And then you're going to end with a review. And then now we're going into comparative adjectives. Of course, we got a new theme, road trip. Comparative adjectives compare two nouns, and superlative adjectives compare three or more nouns. Commas set off the words yes and no from the rest of a sentence. So these are the two concepts covered in this unit. And it's funny, as I'm going through this, I'm being reintroduced to grammar terms that I've long since forgotten, comparative and superlative. And as we go along, some of these terms even get more obscure to me. I understand the concepts, but I've long since forgotten the terminology. In fact, in some cases, I don't even think I learned some of this terminology. But yeah, application on the punctuation, and here's your review. Now we're going into sports theme, and the concepts here are pronouns. Pronouns take the place of nouns and function as nouns in sentences. Commas separate items in a series. So now we've got some practice on these things. We get to write commas to separate items in a series here. And then we get a review. So now we've got a new unit. Its theme is all about ships. And this one covers action verbs, which convey what a subject does, and linking verbs convey a subject state. Commas and exclamation points set off interjections from the rest of the sentence. So we got action and linking verbs and interjections. God help me. All right. So now we've got some exercises covering both of those topics. Ahoy mateys. And a review. Okay, this one is adverbs. Adverbs modify verbs and describe how, when, or where actions happen. And it's covering the titles of books, movies, plays, and television shows, which are underlined. And the theme of this one is let's go on an adventure. So very colorful, very engaging. And we got our review. Okay, now we're into a theme of pets. It's going to cover prepositions, which convey the relationship between two nouns, and also quotation marks, which are used around titles of songs, poems, and short stories. So I like how it's covering both how books and movies are underlined, but then songs, poems, and short stories are in quotation marks, because that gets really confusing to some kids. In fact, to be honest with you, I'm thinking this might even be appropriate for my high schooler. Truly. That's not a joke. Okay. And we got a review. Okay, so this one has a theme of space exploration. It's going to cover progressive verb tenses, which convey an action that is continued for a period of time in the past, present, or future. And like we're sitting, was orbiting, we're watching, is standing, are looking. Commas are used to separate the day and the year in a date and to separate the year from the rest of a sentence. So then we go into exercises about that. The whole term progressive verbs, never heard that before that I'm aware of. So you see what I'm saying here? Okay, here's your, there's your review. Okay, this one's theme is family reunion. The words when, why, and where, relative adverbs. Relative adverbs, really never heard of that either. And begin relative clauses, which modify nouns. Quotation marks and commas are used to set off quotations from the rest of the sentence. So then we have, what's interesting is the concepts here seem somewhat advanced as we go through this book, but the way they introduce them in the lessons is gentle. So at first glance, it might seem like overkill, but really the way that it introduces the concepts and the practice that they get with it, it is gentle. It's not too much. Okay, so here we go, continuing. Anyway, here's your application, and here's the review. Okay, new theme, art. This one's going to cover possessive pronouns, which show possession and function as nouns in sentences, and then apostrophes are used to form possessive nouns. So we talked about pronouns earlier, but now they're talking about possessive pronouns. And there's a review. Now we've got a theme of geography. Modal auxiliary verbs. Really? Modal auxiliary verbs. Never heard that term before, or at least I don't remember it. Come before the main verb in a sentence and provide more information about the verb. If I remember correctly, a modal auxiliary verb is a kind of helping verb. So this is where they talk about, like, when you were a kid, did you ever say, "Can I go to the store?" And then your mom or dad would say, "I don't know, can you?" And then you'd be really annoyed because all you want is an answer to the question, right? But it was obviously a way to help correct grammar mistakes, because the correct verb would have been, "May I go to the store?" right? So I didn't know it was called modal auxiliary verb, but evidently that's what it's called. It's also going to talk about commas, which are used to separate the elements of an address or location from each other and the rest of a sentence. So we're going to go through here. Here's your application, and there's your review. Okay, now we're going to have a theme of school. This is going to cover sentence fragments, which are incomplete sentences, and run-on sentences, which are made of two or more sentences joined together without correct punctuation. A comma is used to separate a tag question from the rest of a sentence. So those are the two concepts that are going to be covered here, which I believe is kind of a gentle way also to introduce clauses. Okay, there's your review, and here's another theme of birds. Coordinating conjunctions. Join two independent clauses to form a compound sentence. A comma is used before the coordinating conjunction in a compound sentence. So this is using tying the two concepts together, because the punctuation in this case is related to the grammar topic. So that's nice. There's your review. Amusement parks is the theme on this one. Subordinating conjunctions are used to form complex sentences. A comma is used after the dependent clause in a complex sentence in which the dependent clause becomes a sentence. Subordinating conjunctions. I don't remember that term either, but learn something new every day. Application, review. All right, away at camp. It's a new theme. Some words that sound familiar are commonly confused, but they have different spellings and definitions. Commas are used after the greeting and closing of a friendly letter. So they're going to incorporate these two themes together, or these two topics together. Commonly confused words. There's the application, and there's the review. Okay, so they include this little language handbook, which is fantastic. This is like a little cheat sheet that you can tear out and staple together and keep, or laminate, whatever you want to do. Keep in a binder. The possibilities are endless. So that they can refer to this when they need help with remembering a concept, or when they're writing and they want to use the proper grammar and punctuation in their writing. So I love that. And then here's the answer key. So if you have a pretty resourceful student and they're going to be working on this independently, you have the ability to tear these out since they're perforated and just store them in a separate location so that you can grade their work, or you can then hand it to them and they can grade their own. Definitely not opposed to that option. So that concludes this book on grammar and punctuation, and if you want to see the rest, I have a playlist in my channel that has all of the Evan Moor reviews that I've done so far. And so anyway, thank you so much. Oh, I should mention, Evan Moor was gracious enough to send this to me in exchange for my honest review, and the links below are affiliate links, and they do not change the price that you pay for an item, but they do give me just a small commission for giving them the exposure and doing the review for them. So I appreciate your support, and if you like this kind of content, please do subscribe and click the notification bell, and I'll be bringing more content soon. Thank you so much, and have a great day.